Hey, thanks for watching. I really appreciate your time and joining me today in this video where I'm going to be talking about the Canon 50mm f1.4 FD. So the FD mount is fundamentally different from a lot of more modern mounts. If you'll take a quick look, this is my 100 to 300 at this mount. That looks very different from an EF mount like this, or an E mount, which looks like this. These FD mount lenses are really only able to be used on DSLRs and mirrorless systems by using adapters. I recently got an adapter for my partner for Valentine's Day, and I've ended up absconding with it quite badly ever since because it's just so much fun. She doesn't take very many pictures in general, so I've been having a blast with it, and with the 50 in particular, it's been a real crazy ride because it's been teaching me things about film lenses and about it in particular that I had no idea about. You know, from the 100 to 300, you can learn about how these film lenses had much bigger throws and how this big knurl, this focus, this is the zoom, but this is all the focus, create such a better experience of taking the image. With modern focus throws, you don't have very far there to there. It's like 60 degrees. It's not a very big throw, so you got to be really precise. And if you think, oh well, that's not so bad. This from infinity to, that's about 180. It's just under 180 maybe. So that's a big throw by comparison to 60. It's 3 times as much throw. And now, these are not the lenses that I'm supposed to be talking about today, so I'm going to get back to that. The throw on the 50 is also like 180 degrees. It's a very large throw, and that creates such a better experience while shooting because it's not, while using an aperture of, you know, between f2.8 and f1.4 is razor thin, it's not as razor thin as using a modern digital oriented lens, a modern autofocus lens, because I can be covering 3 feet with a very tiny motion in the focus of one of these versus it'll take me, you know, 5 degrees to get there, to move that same 3 feet with the focus. And that creates a much more engaged experience with a photography, and it makes me feel so much more like I'm an active participant in the environment with which I'm participating. And it's just a joy to use. Now, currently the 50mm is at f2.8, so the aperture looks like it's about halfway closed down by comparison to f1.4. So I'm going to try to say the next bit at f2, and then we'll move to f1.4. So at f2 you're probably noticing a substantial amount of ghosting by comparison to f2.8, and you're also going to notice a lack of detail. It's not nearly as sharp at f2 as it is at f2.8. And that's one of the things that I commented about recently in my previous video, actually, about these film lenses. At f5.6, this lens is optically not as good as it is at f8. This 35 to 70, f3.5 to 4.5, is better at 70 than it is at 35 because it's at f4.5. So these lenses all need to be stopped down quite a bit before they get really useful. And with a lens like this, it's starting at f5.6, so you got to go to f8 before it really starts cleaning up optically. And that's kind of a challenge to work with in a lot of circumstances. So I really hope that this is still in focus. This is now at f1.4. So what you should notice is a severe amount of ghosting, very little detail, very little sharpness, and it creates to my eyes, a very filmic look. And that's a very interesting comment for me to be making, I feel like, because with a lot of the film images that I've seen, images from film, apart from the ones that I've taken, they've not been very sharp. They've been kind of ethereal. And I think that part of that ethereality, if you will, stems from the simple fact that they didn't have the ability to make a lens incredibly sharp at f1.4. The Sigma that's currently on my Sony is at f1.4. And so between the modern f1.4 and the old f1.4, you can probably tell a big difference. That's really interesting to me. It also means that I'm not going to be able to use that 50mm at f1.4 very much, but it makes it fun. You know, it makes it add another element, but at the same time, I don't enjoy the complete lack of sharpness, the overabundance of ghosting, and it's also really difficult to be interested in shooting on because it poses all those problems. Now on the flip side, it's very small. As a lens, it takes up less space than my nifty 50. Takes up less space, especially because this extends, than my 16 to 50. And of course, much less space than something like this 100 to 300, the 85, the 70 to 200, the 24 to 105, 35 to 70 FD mount, either the Canon one or the Sigma one that we have. So I really love the compact size of these film lenses, especially these standard primes. I feel like fit into a fantastic little niche in terms of size that makes them really appealing to work with on a regular basis because of the fact that they take up no space. And while I don't know if I would want to get an FD to E mount to use on this particular camera because I love using the 425 autofocus points too much, I think it's been a great experience and one that I'm very interested in continuing because it makes me feel like so much more of a participant in the environment in which I'm operating. It makes me feel like I'm one of the greats, like I'm taking images, like I'm engaging with my subjects, like the great street photographers have done, because everything is, you know, so much on the fly, and you got to be very responsive to light and to the changing conditions of the environment that you're in, and you got to be very careful with all your little elements as they're coming together. And that's just so much fun. So, film lenses part 2, vintage film lenses part 2, 50mm edition. It's fantastic, but it sucks very badly. So, I want to get more into film lenses, but I'd also love to get into more film lenses that can really produce quality images without having to work around them so much. And I'm interested in finding what those look like and finding what those are. Thank you very much for your time and for your attention. Please smash that like button, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next one.